Fucking lame shit.
Apathy. The feeling of apathy. The feeling of complete nihilism and apathy in your life. That feeling when you get home from work or from school, just to sit in front of your screen, load up the YouTube front page and scroll until you find an interesting thumbnail to click, just to click off in 2 minutes because you realize that the thing you were watching was just complete and utter bullshit. Then you start questioning yourself, what is even the point? You work a job you dislike, you study the subjects you dislike, you follow a routine you dislike. But that is okay, I guess, because you can always just refresh the home page until you get that dopamine hit again. Like a 45-year-old lady loading up the Lidl app to see what is on a discount, and if she has coupons to spend to get that 15% discount on a Chinese plastic broom that breaks after 2 weeks or some shit. Yeah, boy. Kill that boredom. Kill that feeling of apathy by refreshing the home page. Yeah, boy, suppress the feeling. Bottle that shit up. I have to be honest, I have been feeling nihilistic and apathetic for years now, but the only reason why I'm still making progress in my life is because of that fear of lost time and lost potential, as I feel like I will regret not using my so-called prime years of my life for something productive. But at the end of the day, I still feel like nothing I do in this life holds any importance whatsoever. Nothing has any meaning, and the worst thing is, to me it also started to lose all meaning. I have been around the block when it comes to Nietzsche, and I understand that in this nihilistic world devoid of meaning, you are the one who should give your life meaning. But how do you do it? Before, when I was a kid, I did not care a single bit about purpose and meaning and so on, and I was just following my desires of doing things that interested me. But as I grew older, I slowly started to lose desires. The things that interested me before did not interest me any longer. And the only thing that is pushing me today in the category of making progress towards my goals is my stubborn nature. I told myself before that I want to achieve this, so therefore I'm making progress towards achieving it. But I feel like my progress is being hindered by apathy and nihilism. Mainly because in my case, the origin of my nihilistic outlook on life came from learning about genetic determinism, human nature and looks maxing, and my overall position in the human hierarchy. And from that nihilistic outlook on life, it gave birth to apathy, leading to me not enjoying my training sessions anymore, not enjoying writing scripts anymore and recording videos, not enjoying going out with people and socializing and so on. All of those things started to feel like a chore, like a task to fulfill. Because if I do not fulfill those tasks, I would feel mentally hurt, or I would feel that fear of missing out. If I do not go out and meet my friends, my social skills will get worse, and I would go a little more insane, which made me start questioning the big existential questions of the human condition. What is the meaning of all of this if everything in life is a struggle? Why am I facing apathy in life even though, to the outside eye, I'm making good progress in life? And it seems like I have a meaning and purpose to follow. So today, the topic will be apathy. Apathy means that you're losing interest and concern for things, or for life. It means that you are emotionally numb and do not care about the things that are happening around you. In other words, apathy is a coping mechanism that the person started using due to the difficulties in life, numbing down the bad because the feeling of bad is already bad enough. People usually mistake apathy for depression. Even though it can come together in a package, depression is the feeling of hopelessness, sadness and despair, while apathy is just complete emotional numbness. Which you may tell me, hey Swen, Livin, does that mean that people who are experiencing apathy are actually just stoics? Doesn't stoicism preach about how you should not care about external events and so on, not allowing them to affect your mental state? Well yes, stoicism is the teaching of observing and controlling your thoughts and emotions, and being numb to external events that negatively affect you. But it is not the same case as apathy. It is a totally different thing. Apathy, in modern sense, is a state of indifference, a lack of interest, or not caring about anything, often stemming from being overwhelmed by negative events, unprocessed thought patterns and so on. Stoics process external events and react based on their thought-out desires, and not by emotions. Both a stoic and a person feeling apathy can react the same way of not letting this thing affect me. But a stoic did it with a higher purpose and a goal in mind, whilst the person going through apathy did it because he lost the ability to care. In its original meaning, apathy was a key part of Stoics, to be indifferent to the flows of life, as life is something we cannot fully control. hence that apathy was important. But today, our modern usage of apathy denotes someone who doesn't care about life in general. This would be counter to the Stoic life in that it doesn't grant peace, only just a neutral life. How to know if you're feeling apathy? I mean, you pretty much know. That is the reason why you are watching this, right? Apathy symptoms include a significant lack of motivation, interest, and emotional response, leading to social withdrawal, neglect of self-care, disinterest in former hobbies, low energy, and a difficulty starting or finishing daily tasks, making you seem indifferent or unconcerned about things that usually matter. What is the cause of apathy, especially today in the modern age where many young men are checking out of jobs and dating? What is the root cause for that? It varies from person to person, but it is always either environment or negative past events. Imagine a young average adult today, male, 24 years of age. He sees that the system is rigged against him. Whatever job he will apply for, he will work for money, which he will have to spend on groceries in today's raging economy, constantly repeating the cycle, buying things just to ease off the pain of living, only to end up virtually owning nothing of meaning. If he wants a better job, he would either have to go through the humiliation ritual of climbing the corporal ladder, or he will have to go and spend years in getting the higher education, just to end up in the exact same place, just with a higher pay. At least then he will not have the fear of being easily replaceable, but he will have the fear of, what if, after 4 years of studying my ass off in this field, what if magically, by random chance, my degree will not be worth anything, so I will have to return to my MC Slop Donald's flipping burgers again. Even in the dating marketplace, if he did not have any connections before, he is struggling. Humiliation ritual again, trying to find a partner. Whilst both him and woman are fried from unavoidable media consumption, endless advertisements, unhealthy processed foods, pointless information bombardment that separates you from your original purpose on this planet, modern twisting of values, gaslighting about what it means to be a man or a woman, political opinions that distract you from what is really going on, the algorithm that knows exactly what to show you. It is no wonder why many young adults are facing apathy in their lives. What is the point even? You're supposed to toil away at some meaningless job, coming home later to an empty apartment. Men before did not mind working a shitty job because at least they knew that they were doing it for their wife and kids that are home. But today, considering that 50% of men never asked a girl out, there is no wonder why a lot of people are waking up and asking themselves, what is even the point? There is no wonder why many individuals are facing apathy and depression in their lives. The modern world was not designed for the mental health of its citizens. It was designed for industrial and technological progress at the expense of blood and struggle. Actually, it was designed so that the rich can profit more than the last year at the expense of blood and struggles. The average guy does not see the meaning or higher purpose to dedicate their lives today. So if you're questioning yourself, why are you feeling like this? Why are you facing apathy and possibly other mental health problems today? Well, the problem is not you, it is the environment. Always shift the problem at something else except yourself. It is never you who is to blame. Trust me, once you start blaming other people for your problems, life would feel like a breeze. Pushing jokes to the side. Even though I firmly believe that the majority of mental health problems are to blame on the environment, it is still your responsibility to take care of it. Even though the system is rigged against you, it is still your responsibility to find a way. Because who else will fix your mental health if it's not you? This is one of my favorite quotes I heard in my life. As a man, it is not always your fault, but it is always your responsibility. Facing apathy, you need to see deeper into your personal life and see why you are facing apathy. See the root cause and still act on it. Being vital in life is so important. Even though the environment is rigged, you can still act on it. Firstly, by getting knowledge, real knowledge, understanding what is going on in the world. Then secondly, making calculated risks for your own benefit. Taking low risks for high rewards. But that is the problem. You're facing apathy. You stopped caring about everything. You're just running on autopilot in life, waiting for something magical to happen. That will never happen. Well, considering that you are still watching this video to this point, you do care, even a little bit, which is just enough for me to give you some boost in morale, some knowledge to work with, at least something to impact your life positively. So, understanding that environment and past experiences cause apathy, what can we do? Considering that our impact is small on the environment and close to none if we do not care or have any emotional attachment to the environment, and considering that our past experiences also affect how we act today, what really is there to do? We cannot change the past and we cannot change the environment, but we can change our perspectives of the world. Nah, not really. Your perspective of the world is made from all of those past experiences, and outright disregarding your past experiences is like pushing all of the dust under the carpet. The reason why you're feeling apathy is because all of those past experiences, interacting with people, feeling lost in life, having no guidance or direction in life, affect your life in a negative way. All of those negative events made you feel numb towards sadness and depression. All of those negative events made you feel numb towards happiness and joy because you felt that feeling of everything is going fine, that something has to be wrong. There's got to be a twist. So you never enjoyed positive things in your life because you always focused on the bad. There are so many strings that pull on a person. The cause of apathy or depression, even though today we are only talking about apathy, is often due to many small things collecting and piling on, rather than just a big thing happening. Death by 1,000 cuts. I will try my best to go through the most common origins of apathy that are falling in the categories of environment and past experiences, and I will try my best to give the best possible solutions towards fixing each and one of them, from my point of view and understanding of the issue.
और लोगों की परेशानियां बताएं।
Dopamine dysfunction, fatigue, inflammation, or neurological impairment can reduce motivation pathways. Your diet could be the very cause of why you feel like shit and apathetic in life. Your lack of exposure towards sunlight could be the cause for your low drive and motivation towards life. The further we stray away from fulfilling our biological needs, the more we would feel like nothing truly matters in life. Think about it. I already talked about it countless times, and I will probably never stop talking about it. The more we make our lives artificial, the more mental health issues we have. Artificial replacements, sense of purpose fulfilled by video games, sense of reproduction fulfilled by adult content, sense of connection fulfilled by parasocial relationships via medias, sense of belonging fulfilled by online communities, sense of identity fulfilled by avatars, online personas. Every single higher order human sense can be replaced today, which in fact will cause detachment from our own biological selves. The reason why you are feeling apathy might be because you are not animal nor human anymore. You're just a machine operating or being operated by artificial fuel. You are subhuman by action, not by looks in this context, for my fellow BP enjoyers. Or just maybe, the cause of apathy is not from lack of self-care or from being detached from our natural selves. Maybe apathy is causing those. An origin of apathy can be pinpointed at something else, something different. In certain conditions, apathy may function as a low-energy survival mode to conserve resources. From an evolutionary standpoint, in environments where resources are scarce, threats are consistent, or effort repeatedly fails to produce reward, conserving energy becomes more advantageous than continued engagement. Apathy, in this framework, functions similarly to behavioral shutdowns mechanisms observed in animals. Many species exhibit reduced activity and disengagement during periods of famine, illness, or social defeat. In these situations, it is best to preserve oneself. But we are not really experiencing famines or diseases. Why do our bodies then want us to feel apathy? What can we do here then? Well, dopamine signals expect the rewards relative to effort. When repeated attempts yield little to no rewards, dopamine signaling decreases, reducing motivation. This prevents organisms from wasting energy or actions that are statistically unlikely to succeed. However, this mechanism evolved for temporary conditions. Before, lack of food, lack of certain resources lasted for some time, then it got back up. But today's modern environments produce chronic low-reward states. Bureaucratic systems, social stagnation, digital overstimulation, lack of agency, without physical deprivation. The brain interprets these as ongoing failure conditions, activating a survival response that no longer matches reality. The low-energy survival mode persists even when action is possible, leading to prolonged apathy, disengagement, and nihilistic beliefs. So what is the practical solution towards that? We need to signal to the brain that the effort once again produces reward. Starting small, collecting small wins that will create that snowball effect that will help other aspects of our lives. Once you get that positive reinforcement loop going, you will not feel apathy anymore. The thing is, you need to start small. Collect small wins that will compound later on. When repeated failures occur, individuals may stop believing effort matters, leading to apathy. Those repeating failures create that negative reinforcement loop, leading to even more negative events happening. Unfortunately, we figured that out very late in our lives. and it is often difficult to pull ourselves out of that situation. But the advice still stands that you should start collecting small wins in life that create that compound effect for your mental state. If you cannot achieve something and you tried many times, then either change your goals or try harder. The way to get out of that state of learned helplessness is to find ways to make the brain regain that sense of control again. Because even with the limitations of genetics, you can still maximize your genetic potential via looks maxing and healthy habits. It is just the question of how much genetic potential you have to begin with. The more you focus on the things you cannot control, the more you will not control your life. The more you focus on the things you can control, the more you would feel like you are in control. But that shift is very hard to, shift. Because the past affects who you are today. The way how you were treated in the past is the way how you feel like you should be treated today. Anyways, we cannot change the past, but we must understand how it affects us today by seeing the strings that pull on us in social situations, in social interactions, in how we look at ourselves, how we look at our own self-image. And from knowledge, from our understanding of ourselves, then we may only act in our own favor. Modern digital environments flood the mind with stimuli, often triggering an emotional shutdown. The more time you spend distracting yourself with media, the more you will lose the skills you are good at. And when you get back to your skills, and once you realize that you aren't as good as before, it is most likely that you would just give up because you do not feel like putting in the time to get back to the same level that you were at before. Plus, overloading your brain with information that is not useful will make you distracted from what you are good at. What is the clear goal when the goal is not clear? There was a reason why there was a huge detox trend going on medias. Everyone feels tired from so much misinformation on the internet that it is constantly being shoved up our faces. Maybe sometimes it is our phones. To have that clarity in life, to have that distinct goal and purpose, we cannot distract ourselves with information that doesn't benefit us. Even truths. We agree that truth is the most important thing to us. But what if the truth is not beneficial for us? It is good then to be delusional in our approach to life. Anyways, you could feel apathy because your mind is occupied with information that takes a toll on your psyche.
And for real. It's still alive and kicking.
When people lose sense of who they are, motivation weakens because goals lack personal meaning. Your goals should be an extension of your character. But if you do not know yourself or your identity, you will not have that drive in life to achieve things. Because why would you even pursue them if you do not have any meaning behind it? Unfortunately, depression and apathy seep away meaning from life. The meaning that should be placed by you through effort, but prevented by depression and apathy. Many people lose themselves in addictions or routines, going to work, going home to unwind, and repeating that over and over again. No higher meaning, nothing higher to strive for. Maybe the feeling of apathy is not the problem of being lazy or being numb towards life. Maybe it is a sign to explore one's own character. Maybe this mediocre life was never meant for you, and you strive for something more challenging in life. Even though many people suffer today with their own specific problems, many problems today are caused by safety. Considering that you are probably watching this video in USA or Europe, or somewhere in the world where it is relatively safe, you probably do not remember the last time you had to struggle for food or shelter or fighting off predators. There is this concept that humans create problems once real problems are solved. That concept is called prevalence-induced concept change. Our brains adjust expectations, leading us to perceive threats or issues where none exist, especially when our own current situation feels too stable. There are many videos on YouTube, and I will probably create one in the future, about how to find oneself, by peeling the layers of an onion. In short, when we are born, we are being molded by others, our environment, our parents, and what we see others doing. Therefore, we try to copy them ourselves. All of those add layers onto the core of what our true desire in life is. The whole thing is, in short, is to understand how each layer was added onto us by others, and then remove them until we find what we truly desired. An example would be all of the fanboys of popular masculinity gurus. Do the vast majority of them really want what these masculinity gurus preach, deep inside their own hearts? Or was that desire placed by them to mold them into something profitable? Viewing life as meaningless or outcomes as irrelevant increases the likelihood of apathetic behavior. I cannot really blame a person for being nihilistic in life, because life is unfair and meaningless down to its core, just bones and flesh trying its hardest to reproduce. It doesn't matter if you reproduce or not in this world, it doesn't matter if you succeed or not. There are no moral codes or rules to abide by. We humans are flawed in nature, and we created rules for ourselves just to be enslaved by ourselves. Suffering is meaningless. Everything that is living wants to stay living. I believe that everyone had to have passed through that some nihilistic moment in their own lives. That weird period where everything is confusing and whatnot. My advice is to dive into philosophy. Especially into philosophers who talk about meaning and nihilism, like Friedrich Nietzsche or Albert Camus. Because learning what makes someone nihilistic may give you a reason to give yourself a meaning. I mean, that is kind of the most obvious answer to the most existential questions out there. What is the meaning of life? Well, the meaning of life is to give life a meaning. Because life, inherently, worldwide, does not possess meaning. Maybe to other people, maybe to some, but life in itself is pretty much meaningless. Nihilistic people are stuck at the first step and struggle to take the second. The problem is not that life is meaningless. It is the problem of giving it a meaning. After being exposed to so much struggle or so much truths, it takes huge effort to give oneself a meaning. When communities lack upward mobility or clear opportunities, apathy becomes widespread. What is the point of striving for something when you know you will not achieve that? How can you tell a guy who knows damn sure that he will not find a lifelong partner in life, and he will not reproduce and carry on his genes onto the next generation, to not feel apathy and to still pursue that? I mean, everything we do, from collecting money, collecting resources, learning, building, is for women, right? I never really understood the idea of men going their own way. You're just building your empire, but for what? For who? Just for yourself, for your own pleasure. You're building yourself for pleasure's sake. Biologically, we are programmed for reproduction, and we are programmed to understand what is good for that and after. You need resources, money, health, and strength to raise kids. I mean, the whole point of life is to raise kids, right? But what to do when you cannot achieve that? What can you do when you cannot fulfill your biological mission? You need to cope somehow. You need to find meaning in something different. Your craft, your hobbies, your work or something. Maybe I'm talking about a very small portion of so-called incels, but maybe I'm not, considering that around 60% of men throughout history did not reproduce. Fucking brutal, bro. How do you fight apathy, knowing that you cannot succeed in today's society due to lack of clear opportunities? Knowledge. Learn. There is a reason why it is called the lack of clear opportunities. Because if those opportunities were clear, you would still be in lack of clear opportunities, because all of those opportunities would be taken. Leverage what you can today. Even if you're genetically fucked. Get money, get jacked, try and build something. Maybe you will not get genuine attraction, but you could pull something with that you can leverage. It was never easy. It was never meant to be easy, but staying stagnant in life is a death sentence.
Brother, I want you to imagine niggas cream pieing in your girl, and you sitting there watching.
Okay.
That's what's happening right now if you want to get by with her. Dead ass, bro. Imagine
Okay.
BBC like me, nigga, in your bitch, coming 10 times back to back.
And the fact that her parents are even
Yeah, I like
intervening, the fact that her parents are intervening is an even bigger red flag. I don't even know why we're having this conversation.
Environments offering constant convenience and instant gratification weaken discipline and motivation. Yeah, once you achieve all of your biological needs, even through artificial means, you can develop apathy in life. When the reward in life is so good but fake, and effort is so minimal and easy, you can develop such a comfortable state of being that you genuinely lose all meaning to life. Once survival is solved without adding anything after that, you are cooked. You get comfortable. But we do not grow in comfort. We are men. We're built from challenges. No wonder you face apathy day in and day out. To collect all of those issues together and to form a joint conclusion towards fixing our lack of interest towards things, towards fixing apathy, we need to create a meaning for ourselves, or out of seemingly nothing. And we need to make small wins to create that compound effect, to create that positive reinforcement loop, snowball effect. The practical advice would be learning about the world, but not to be devoured by the truth, as truth can be used as a chain that one puts on oneself to prevent oneself from taking action. Learn philosophy. Start studying any form of philosophy. I recommend Nietzsche and Albert Camus, but if you want simplicity and something much quicker to understand, start with Stoicism. Learn about human nature, that we are not only meat, bone and flesh, but rather something more than that. Every human at some point in their lives tried to seek something greater than themselves. Study why is that. In life, start challenging yourself bit by bit, training, interacting socially, gathering more resources. I have seen many short and ugly guys who are social butterflies, and yes, I understand that you can hit me with that survivorship bias. And you would be correct, because the majority of short and ugly dudes are hiding from the society due to trauma and negative feedbacks. Out of sight, out of mind. And even though I agree that traumas do define who you are today, is it really okay to stay in that form of repeating trauma? Even though you will never truly kick away your trauma, and it will always linger deep inside your head, you should still act on it. Kind of blue pill from me, considering that I talk mainly about black pills, but you should embrace your traumas and still progress in life, making small wins. Small wins. Compounding effect. Positive reinforcement loop. Celebrate your small wins, man. Do not suppress your wins because there are superior people than you out there. Comparison is the thief of joy, but also, at the same time, we don't actively compare ourselves to others. It is more of a subconscious thing that happens. Anyways, you see that I don't really like giving out positive advices, as life is not black and white, and every positive thing has a negative thing attached to it. Think positively! In other words, reject the bleak reality. Or, do not care what other people think about you. Or in other words, ignore your natural sense of knowing where you stand in the social hierarchy, and totally disregard your desire to be desirable by others, or by being unapologetically yourself. But being unapologetically yourself is a good thing. Well, for some, it is social suicide if you are not good enough for the standards of the environment. Anyways, you know yourself the best. I'm just here giving keys to many doors, but I cannot open the doors for you. You know what is the best for you. You're just being held back by inaction. But once that snowball effect starts rolling, you will be fine. That is it for the video. Merry Christmas, everybody. I genuinely hope that I will be uploading this video on Christmas. If not, sorry for the late celebrations. I hope all of you will take a chill pill for these holidays and just relax a little. I'll probably spend it either working on my YouTube and my 9-to-5 job, training and going out. Hopefully some of you will not be devoured by chronic loneliness. I know how it feels. Going forward, do not expect consistent uploads from me. Life has been throwing me curveballs, and my attention and time has been stretched out all over the place. Saying that, see you in the next videos.